When Iran writes directly to the United Nations Security Council, it is rarely symbolic. It is usually a signal. This week, Tehran formally warned that it would respond decisively to any US military aggression. The message came in a letter from Iran's ambassador to the UN, Amir Saeed Iravani, urging the Security Council and the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres to condemn what he described as escalating threats from US President Donald Trump. At the heart of the dispute is a 10 to 15-day ultimatum. Speaking in Washington during the first official meeting of his newly created Board of Peace, Trump warned Tehran it had 10 to 15 days to make what he called a meaningful deal with Washington.
Iran is a hotspot right now, and they're meeting, and they have a good relationship with the representatives of Iran, and, good talks are being had. It's proven to be, over the years, not easy to make a meaningful deal with Iran. We have to make a meaningful deal. Otherwise, bad things happen. But we have to make a meaningful deal. But they have a great relationship with the representatives of Iran.
Later, speaking aboard Air Force One, he doubled down. 10 to 15 days, he said, should be maximum.
But we're either going to get a deal or it's going to be unfortunate for them.
And you said today 10 days. Have you given them a deadline firm to make a deal?
I would think that would be enough time, 10, 15 days, pretty much maximum.
But it was not just the deadline that caught attention. According to Iran's letter to UN, Trump specifically referenced possibility of using a US airfield in the Chagos Islands in any potential strike on Tehran. For Tehran, that crossed a line. Iran's ambassador wrote that such a statement must not be treated as mere rhetoric, especially given what he described as a continued US military buildup in the region. Tehran insists it does not seek war, but it also made its red line clear. If attacked, Iran would consider all bases, facilities, and assets of the hostile force in the region as legitimate targets. In other words, this would not remain a limited exchange. Iran's Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei reinforced that message in blunt terms on social media. A US warship may be dangerous, he wrote on X, but more dangerous is the weapon that can send that warship to the bottom of the sea. The language is calculated. It is meant for both Washington and regional capitals. What makes this moment especially fragile is that it comes amid ongoing talks. Just days ago, the US and Iran held a second round of indirect negotiations in Geneva. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi described them as constructive, saying both sides made good progress and broad agreement on guiding principles. Trump, too, acknowledged very good meetings between his envoys and Iranian representatives.
Very interesting meetings having to do with, as you know, Iran is a hotspot right now, and they're meeting, and they have a good relationship with the representatives of Iran, and, good talks are being had.
Yet, even as diplomacy continues, the US has expanded its military presence in the Gulf, deploying 2 aircraft carriers and dozens of fighter jets. The dual track is clear: negotiations on one hand, deterrence on the other. But history shows that such parallel strategies carry risk. Miscalculation becomes easier when deadlines are public and military assets are visibly moving. Tensions between Washington and Tehran have been steadily rising since last year. In December, while hosting Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Trump warned that the US would strike Iran again if it attempted to rebuild its nuclear or missile programs.
I hear that Iran is trying to build up again, and if they are, we're going to have to knock them down. We'll knock them down. We'll knock the hell out of them, but hopefully that's not happening.
That followed last year's joint Israeli-US strikes on Iranian nuclear facilities in June, which Trump now claims paved the way for a ceasefire in Gaza by weakening what he called the Iran threat. Inside Iran, anti-government protests also erupted shortly after those warnings. Trump publicly encouraged demonstrators, saying help is on the way, statement Tehran viewed as interference.
And I've canceled all meetings with the Iranian officials until the senseless killing of protesters stops. And all I say to them is help is on its way. You saw that I put tariffs on anybody doing business with Iran. Just went into effect today.
There was a brief de-escalation last month when Trump said Iran had agreed to halt the execution of dissidents under US pressure.
That the killing in Iran is stopping, and it's stopped, and it's stopping. And there's no plan for executions or executions. So I've been told that on good authority. We'll find out about it.
That pause opened the door of the renewed talks, beginning with the first round in Oman on February 6. But now the clock is ticking again. For the region, any direct confrontation between the US and Iran risks destabilizing already fragile theaters from the Gulf to the Levant. For countries that maintain complex ties with both Washington and Tehran, escalation would carry economic and security implications. Energy markets would react immediately. Shipping lanes through the Gulf could be affected. diplomatic balancing would become more difficult. Globally, this is also a test of multilateral institutions. Iran has asked the UN Security Council to intervene. Whether the Council acts or remains paralyzed by geopolitics will signal how much leverage global institutions still hold when great powers issue ultimatums. The world is watching a familiar but dangerous pattern: diplomacy unfolding under the shadow of force.